Hello everyone, welcome to this session where we will explore a little bit more the reasons why we don't play Web3 games yet and why we should. I'm an ex-gamer. I used to play World of Warcraft, I was Gladiator there, I played League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, you name it. And naturally, at some point, I tried to sell my account and the assets there. And I was banned 2 times by Blizzard for trying to sell my World of Warcraft account. So I'm a little bit biased towards the Web3 and the perks that it unlocks to us. If you want, here's QR code to my LinkedIn and my socials. You can add me after this video and I'm happy to connect with you. When it comes to the challenges, I would first like to start about the way how we connect feedback from Web2 players. I think that by default, we are asking wrong questions here because when we go to Web2 players, we usually start with, hey, would you like to have like, crypto in your game or would you like to have NFTs in your game? And their answer is, no, I don't trust Bitcoin. How can some expensive JPEG help me in my game? I don't like pay to win, or no, I hate scams. And why shouldn't they? Because they're players. They are not really deep into the technology, into blockchain, and they hardly recognize the difference between Bitcoin or Ethereum. So of course for them it's a little bit tricky to grasp the concept right away and see the advantages. And I think that really this is a common mistake that we all do when we are talking to the Web2 players. We are assuming that they already understand what it can bring to them. So I think that the better question would be to really focus on the use cases and the benefits, but also the disadvantages that it brings to the player, and rather ask a question like, do you want to own the assets? Do you want to use the skin you have across different games? Or do you want to earn money by simply playing the games you like? And that's much more natural to the player. And he can quickly assess if it's something that will really benefit him or if it's something that will complicate his life. I see you have my head in one of the texts. So this is basically one profile and one achievement across all of the gaming ecosystem. Just, imagine you ask them if they want to have one player profile that's sharing the achievement from World of Warcraft, but also from Counter-Strike or League of Legends under one profile to show to their friends and to their community. Well, they will tell that they want to have this, right? So let's try to think about this next time you want to ask a gamer if he wants to explore the Web3 space. And let's dive into individual issues. One of the issues we see are the platforms that Web3 developers can leverage to bring the games to us players. App Store or Steam are pretty much against any tokenized game or Web3 game. So it's very difficult to get the content published on these platforms and just showing it to us players to discover it. Quite recently, we saw that Apple and App Store, they don't just want to get a 30% cut of every transaction, so selling the NFTs. They actually want to do this even for a gas fees. So before they list your application, your game, you should figure out how to actually let them monetize gas fees and how they can get some extra revenues from that. So it's not just about passing their screening process, but also actually about finding a way how to let them monetize your transactions, which sometimes is really crazy and is forcing developers to find another ways how to bring the games to us. Another one and more common one that we all face in the Web3 is complexity. It's just so difficult and user unfriendly to start without any crypto until you get to the point, okay, I can interact with smart contract. The first step you should take is you open an account or one of the crypto exchanges. And that means you need to pass the KYC, know your customer. It can take few days, few hours. It's really just the process to show that you are actually who you say you are. And once you pass this, you can buy the crypto. But this is the first step where you can make a big mistake. For example, recently FTX went filing for a bankruptcy, deleting 1 to 2 billion of funds from clients that trusted the exchange and that have accounts there. So this is the first step where you can do a big mistake by actually trusting a centralized entity to handle your funds properly. Another step is choosing your wallet. Now it's much easier than before, but still some of the chains that the games are on or the smart contracts are on have different wallets that are supporting the chain. So quite recently we were using MetaMask as a go-to wallet for Ethereum or Binance, but then we needed to have Phantom or another wallet to support Solana blockchain and the games there. And again, this is something that for a regular user is difficult because you need to understand which wallet you can actually use on which blockchain. Another step is marketplaces. When you want to play a game, let's say Axie Infinity, you need to buy an Axie to actually play the game. You need to buy the NFT first. And for a Web3 native person, it's easy. You just go to the marketplace, you buy that's simple. But for a regular user, it might be super difficult because imagine you have so many collections on OpenSea and it's really difficult to find the one you're looking for. We know that you should start by the original page of the game and just find a link from their page to the original collection or the original marketplace. But if you just go to OpenSea and you, for example, search for apes, you see so many collections, and a regular user or normal user who's just there to play the game, he doesn't know that they are like just one Bored Ape Yacht Club collection by Yuga Labs. They can get lost in all of the ape collection thinking that they are actually buying Bored Ape, while what they are getting is some different collection. And again, you have different marketplaces for different blockchain, different games, and some of the games are actually present or more marketplaces. So again, some extra complexity for the user to find the right NFT and really buy what he can use in the game. Last point where you can make a mistake is, am I really using the right link? We see a lot of scams in the space, and basically everyone is trying to send you some link that is just leading to a wrong site, where if you sign a message through your MetaMask or through your wallet, you can lose your funds. So this is again something that you really need to pay very special attention to. And a regular user is trained not to open any link, but still they're not really so much focused on the phishing emails, and they might get lost in all the spam that they are getting on Telegram or on Discord, on Twitter, everywhere. And that relates to another area, responsibility. In Web2 world, whatever happens, there is someone to help you recover your password or email, or just guide you when you get lost. But in Web3 space, if you lose your seed phrase, if you lose your private key, if you show it to someone, you just lose your funds and that's it. There is no one to help you retrieve the account or the NFTs or the tokens. And that's something that is really hard to grasp for a regular user that is not crypto native. Because suddenly you can lose everything that you have in the game just by doing some small mistake. And imagine that you spend 6 years really like playing one game, having everything you can in the game, all of the rare and OG achievements, and suddenly you just forget your password, or I don't know, you delete your hard drive and you don't remember the password and you lost it. You just That's it. You lost like 6 years of progress. So that's something that's very difficult to get through and really like think about the ways how the decentralization versus centralization plays here in the Web3 games, and if really we can actually play purely Web3 games, or we need to have something on top of them, something centralized a little that help the users guide and really like help them recover their old passwords or seed phrases. Responsibility brings us to another thing, and that's scams. The space is really full of scams, and that's probably the only thing that the Web2 players see right now, because every time someone mentions crypto, it's that someone stole something from someone exploited a Ronin chain, or just someone lost their funds. And naturally, some of the scams are really obvious, like send me half heat, I will send you five back. That's something that I don't really think a lot of users can fall through. But we see another type of scams that really like it's hard to predict, and you can be really careful about all of these phishing emails, but still it can happen to you that you just click on the link and you get scammed. Or like what happened with Runyon Chain, it wasn't really player's fault. It was just the design of the blockchain that actually made it happen that the players lost a lot of funds through this exploit. And it's just something that's happened. It's happening in Web2 space as well, but the difference in Web3 is that the value of the assets is much higher, and therefore the hackers and people that are trying to exploit it are much more motivated to really go and try to steal your assets. Now, one of my favorite reasons is, when you play a Web2 game, you are kind of used to that the game is either free or you are paying for really like AAA experience. Here we can see Fortnite, one of the most popular games nowadays. It's played mainly by smaller players, let's say, younger players, but still it's a very nice battle royale game. And now you see the crypto game. Here we can find a RPG game, World of Warcraft, and again, something, let's say, RPG game, Crypto Blades. I know this is an old image. Today the game looks much, much better. But what am I just trying to show here is really like how the Web2 player actually perceives the games right now. What he sees is this table. On the right side, you have the games that you can play for free that are really like AAA games. And on the left side, you see some of the games where players spend amazingly huge chunk of money for actually getting into the game. You remember Axie was like 2,000 buy-in just to get your 3 Axies so you can actually just try the game versus downloading League of Legends and playing it for free. This is something that's usually very hard for a Web2 player to understand. Why should I pay 2,000 USD to just play some Pokemon style game where I can see how someone can enjoy it, but really for me, for 2000, I can have like 40, 50 AAA games from a Steam store, and I can spend almost years just playing them versus buying 3 Pokemon style Axes and trying to play a PvE mode. But we know there are some reasons why it makes sense, and let's explore them together. First advantage of Web3 games is ownership of the assets. We discussed that players of Axie Infinity at some point had to pay around 2000 USD just to get the 3 Axies and play the game. We know that that's a lot of money for a regular player. But on the other hand, we also know that at least some of these players are used to spend a lot of money on some OG skins, mounts, cosmetics that can boost their account. Here we have a skin of Counter-Strike weapon that was priced above 20,000 USD, which is a lot even for NFT world. And what's more interesting is that in the left corner we have a Feldrake, a very old OG mount from World of Warcraft that was priced most of the time above 2000 USD, sometimes even 3000 and more. And what happened is that a few days ago, World of Warcraft had a campaign with Twitch that you could get this 2000 price tag mount simply for watching someone on Twitch streaming World of Warcraft for 4 hours. So imagine you paid 2000 USD for this mount, and in 1 month, every player could get this mount for free simply for spending a little time watching some streamers play World of Warcraft. That's something that can really not happen in the NFT world because for every collection, you actually know how many of these mounts are there or how many of the NFTs are there. And you can pretty confidently say that if there are 10,000 NFTs, if 9,500 of them are already sold to the community and owned there are maximum 500 of NFTs that the original creator, here the Blizzard or the owner of the game, can actually just push to the community, to the players for free or for a price that they want to. Related to this is know the history. This is really interesting when the game wants to reward their OG players. So imagine you have this season 1 icon from League of Legends, for example. It is written on the blockchain that your address earned this icon back in 2000, I don't know, when the season 1 was live. And anyone else, not just Riot, but any other game developer can find this information and can say, okay, I really want this player to find my game because this is OG player who's playing League of Legends since season 1. And I really want this player to explore my new MOBA game. And so that's why I give him some airdrop. I create a new collection of NFTs from my game, and I simply give it to everyone who's holding this season 1 icon from League of Legends. And the same applies actually to the account bound achievement, let's say. So imagine you entering a game and everyone already seeing all of your achievements from different games, or just the achievements you want them to actually see. Moving forward to the last great area that the blockchain and Web3 unlocks, and that's interoperability. This interoperability is more of a buzzword than reality today. But in the near future, it can work pretty much like this. Imagine you buy yourself a skin in Dota, let's say for Zeus. And League of Legends come and say, okay, I want everyone who owns this skin on Zeus to actually have a skin on Blitzcrank in League of Legends. And just like this, they are giving some extra benefit to your ownership of the asset, simply because they can see the data on blockchain and they can see that you have this Zeus skin, even without Dota really giving them this data because it's there, it's public. And what is it doing to us players is that you can actually have more value on the stuff you buy in individual games because more games can just come and say, yeah, I really want players who are actually owning this skin to play my game as well. So let's bring them some extra value on top of their skins, cosmetics, whatever they are buying in the game. So they have more motivation to try my game as well. And this might be really interesting in the long run. Once you have enough skins, you can actually really imagine a world where you have some great OG skin in Dota and League of Legends as well, and you can play both games simultaneously because you don't really need to care about where you have more skins or more OG stuff anymore because you will have it in both worlds. And this is something that can benefit the game as well. It's probably hard to imagine the real benefit for these two games like Dota and League of Legends. They are really pretty much competing between each other on the same players. But let's imagine a metaverse. Today we have around 180 different metaverses already. And these work today as individual worlds where you need to buy a set in each and every metaverse that is there. But these metaverses might be more interesting in cooperating together, building something bigger than individual worlds with just few hundreds of players, where really you buy one asset in one metaverse and it will get populated to every other metaverse as well. So if you get this some crazy, I don't know, car in one of the metaverses, you will be actually able to drive the same car in the other ones as well. This is really unlocking the potential because then you don't need to be 100% focused on developing the assets by yourself. You can just reuse them from different games and let the players choose the worlds they like the most. And if they don't like the world anymore, they can just jump to another one with similar assets, similar achievements, and explore it as well. And one thing that these benefits have in common is that you can actually earn money by playing the games. Having all of these open marketplaces on top of individual games or their ecosystem is giving you much more power as a player to either just trade the asset between different games or actually rent the asset to other players. Imagine you are going to a vacation for 1 month and you already grinded all of the great assets in the game, all of the mounts, skins, and weapons, and you don't want it to just sit on your account and waiting for you. So you just rent it out to another player that is able to play with your assets, and in exchange will give you some extra cash just because you already played the game so well that you were able to grind all of this stuff. We are not here to earn the money by default, but it's a very nice advantage on top of having a great game with very interesting gameplay that you can actually monetize the time you invest in the game. Now, I wasn't 100% fair to the Web3 games before, and I want to make it right. So let's take a look into one of my favorite games, which is Gods Unchained. This game is very similar to Hearthstone by Blizzard, and while I don't really like games that are too similar, this is a genre of games where you simply don't have so much space in terms of novelty inside the games. But this game is compensating it with the very interesting mechanics of the game and is one of the few Web3 games that is pretty well balanced, which is great to me because for me, if you want to have some competitive level in the game, it really must be balanced. You can't have some combinations that are always winning. And the team behind Goods Unchained is doing a really interesting job in balancing their game. Plus, it's free to play, so you can dive into it right away. You don't really need to invest $100 or anything. You just download it and you play. And lastly, it has this Web3 ownership into it. So by playing, you're actually earning cards, and these cards can be upgraded into NFTs. And once you do that, you can actually trade them on the open market. And this is not the only Web3 game that is already very nice looking and interesting to play. We have a couple more here that I just highlighted because I know them, I like them. And we can see some really interesting gameplay mechanics in each of these games. We can also see some playable graphics. I would say that's something that the Web3 games have in common, that the graphics is not really on the AAA level. But these games are really being developed by amazing people from big studios. And I believe that we are really getting closer to the point where you will have the AAA title in Web 2, but also in Web 3. But in Web 3, you will have some of the benefits we discuss on top of simple being in the game. And that to me is really the reason why I would do the swap from Web 2 to Web 3. And that's it for today. So if you want to, just add me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm happy to chat about anything related to Web3, not necessarily just game, but even metaverses, whatever is interesting to you. And of course, you can leave your questions in comments, and I'm happy to answer whatever you want to ask. So take care, guys.